I didn't want to do this video at first because it's pretty pathetic, but I needed to get it out of my system at least once. I have an accent. I am aware of it. Let's talk all about it. Because some of you, despite not being native English speakers either, clearly have no idea how accents work. Also have some CK3 footage in the background, better than Subway Surfers. My goal is to form Western War with Theodoric the Great. Why do you have an accent? Because I am German, so my mouth is used to German phonetics. To make it worse, I had to pronounce English words in class since first grade. Let me explain German elementary schools. Your homeroom teacher is your teacher for every class. This is not a problem, generally, because which adult doesn't know how multiplication and stuff like that works? It's more about being good with kids than being an expert in any of these classes you teach, because it's just fundamentals, after all. However, in languages, to teach them, even on a basic level, you should have a native-like accent if you want your students to also have one. I honestly don't remember whether my teacher had an accent or not, but the students showed it. That results in them confirming each other's wrong pronunciation. More about whether it's wrong later. How do you deal with that? There are different theories, but I subscribe to the theory that students will pick up on the accent if they hear it enough, without being forced to speak. In my opinion, if you want a perfect accent, speaking should be the last thing you do, not the first one. But if you don't want an absolutely native-like accent, speak to your heart's content. Now, I had yet another problem. School was British, but all media was American. My accent transformed into a slush that included the worst part of both of them. Plus the my native language being German thing. So yeah, that's why I have an accent. Why did you make this video? To be honest, I was trying to record my next video but couldn't. I was working on my accent. Improving takes time, but while recording, I tried to use the stuff I learned. It was still too early, but I also felt like I couldn't just continue speaking like normally. Every line I had to stop, listen to the recording, and notice I either just sound weird or still German. I got voice dysphoria despite being cis. On that note, to all the trans people with voice dysphoria, I feel for you, truly do. I hope you can achieve a voice you like. Your voice is probably already nice, but sometimes I hear people say, your accent makes you special, it's a good thing. And honestly, my thought on that is, I don't want to be special in that area. I don't want to stand out. Similarly, you might, for example, be trans feminine and have the most handsome voice ever, Morgan Freeman level voice. But you don't want to sound like the dude on the planet with the best voice. You want to sound like a girl. Now, if you don't give a shit, more power to you. Nobody has to conform to the gender binary. But wanting to sound more traditionally like your gender identity also is entirely valid. Why is your channel in English? I did give thought to whether to make my channel in German or English. German history YouTube has far less competition and my style is actually very unique for German standards. The norm on German history YouTube is either talking in front of a camera with some images, using solely maps, or podcasts that only use images from the internet. And even then, there are rather few German history YouTubers. Additionally, nobody uses pixel art, humor, and English-style storytelling. The structure is completely different, so that would set me apart in a positive way. Shikashi, however, my goal is to educate the largest amount of people possible. I try to only talk about topics most people aren't aware of, or shed a new light onto certain topics. English has more speakers than German, and a larger potential crowd. By making videos in English, I can potentially educate more people. This is a part of the reason the accent also bugs me. While all my videos have English subs, if some people find my accent incomprehensible, that lowers the amount of people I can educate. Wait a moment. Holy shit, that was close. That one battle decided it. Honestly, can't believe I nearly lost. Shout out to the Commanders Plus mod. Really saved my ass there. Back to my accent. Will you improve your accent? I mean, probably. Little by little. Personally, I think I'm pretty intelligible, but many people have told me they struggle to understand me. All my videos have subtitles, by the way. Just wanna reiterate that. But yeah, if it is such a large crowd of people, I do have to become more intelligible for my goal of educating people on neglected topics. I also wonder whether the accent is hurting my viewer retention. So I try to improve, but stop with the "you have accent, did you know you have accent" comments. If you're going to comment on it, comment specifically on what I mispronounce and maybe give me some tips on how to improve in that area. That actually would be appreciated. Also stuff like, I notice you pronounce X sound like Y. That's super interesting. Is fine. My accent is not a taboo topic. Just don't be the millionth person to say, oh my god, you have an accent? Have you tried not having one? Hope I helped. Also remember when I earlier called my accent wrong, but in quotation marks. I believe that English has no correct accents. It is the lingua franca of the world. The major imperialist Anglophone countries lost their monopoly on what the correct accent is when they imposed English on the rest of us. English belongs to everyone. not just native speakers. That is why I believe all accents are correct, as long as they don't differ too much from the undefined norm. In other words, as long as it's intelligible, it is correct in my book. You don't need to sound American, or British, or Australian, or whatever. As long as we understand each other, it's all good and dandy. On that note, African American vernacular English isn't slang. Additionally, Nigerian English, Jamaican English, Indian English, and so on aren't inferior to the English spoken in white Anglophone countries. These countries also have native speakers. And although I don't believe natives have a monopoly on what is correct, I do believe all native accents are automatically correct and equal. Although that begs the question when an accent becomes a dialect and stuff like that. Do you have an accent in other languages? Yes, but not as bad as in English. German is my native language, but I speak pretty quickly. I'm actually the only one of 3 siblings that never had to attend speech therapy. Neither of my parents speak German as a native language. I guess that might be why my 2 siblings that I had lisp. Aber ich glaube, inzwischen rede ich relativ normal. Schnell, aber normal. Ja, nur schön wie ein Ich spreche ich anscheinend komisch aus, aber das ist ein regionales Ding. Keiner, den ich kenne, macht das, aber theoretisch ist das ein veraltetes lokales Ding. El acento en el castellano es un poco raro. No puedo pronunciar la R porque tengo un skill issue. Sin embargo, eso no es lo de que quiero hablar. Quiero hablar de la F aspirada. Tenía castellano en el colegio. De hecho, era el mejor de mi clase. Gracias a lingua rioja y los vídeos españoles que miraba cuando jugaba a Minecraft. Shout out to Comprehensible Input, sin embargo no he hablado en mucho tiempo. Por eso no estoy muy acostumbrado a hablar castellano al momento. Para mis compañeros de clase, no aspiraba mi S. Por eso, no estoy acostumbrado a la aspiración. Sin embargo, cuando hablo solo conmigo, lo uso. ¿Lo pronuncio correctamente? Coméntalo. L'italiano è similare però differente. Posso ascoltarlo quasi perfettamente. Anche scrivere non è un problema massivo. Comunque, parlare d'una maniera spontanea è un poco difficile per me. Clar, credi che abbia un accento nell'italiano? Fa un commento. Saigo wa Nihongo. Mada benkyo shiteru nda. Imajon de benkyo suru. Tatoeba, anime mitari. Manga o yondari. Tamani YouTube no doga o mitari to. Mada hanasan nai nda. Boku no akusento do kana. Commento de oshite kudasai. I let you all be the judges of whether I have an accent in other languages, but I think I'm definitely intelligible. Although intonation seems to be my arch nemesis. Oh dang, Theodoric died. Guess we failed. But we were more successful than the real Theodoric. He managed to conquer Italy, gain control over Burgundy and the Visigoths, and had an alliance with the Vandals. He nearly invaded them after executing his sister, but died right before he invaded. We, however, conquered Africa, the most important part of the empire. Also controlled the rich lands of Greece. Now, if you watched until here, subscribe for more rants and me oversharing. Next time I will explain why settler colonialism is bad. Just kidding, this is a history channel, not an opinion channel, but maybe I'll make another real talk video at some point, where we fourth wall a bit. Although settler colonialism is a historical topic, but I think Bestie Marx did it better than I ever could. Check out his videos on Zionism. Alternatively, if you like history, you can check out my other videos, and if you like linguistics, I got a tiny bit of that as well. Thanks for sticking until here despite the accent or maybe due to the accent. Either way, bye bye.